So are you wondering kind of what the near future of interest rates will look like for mortgages and how they may impact either your home purchase or the number of buyers that are potentially in the market for purchasing your home? So I'm here with Rick Waldron of Guaranteed Rate Affinity, and he's going to share with me some insights that he just read about recently.
Interest rates have recently started to go back up. They were trending down, and we received a stronger than expected employment report a few weeks back. That was followed by a consumer price index, which is an inflation report that showed inflation coming down. For the seventh month in a row. However, it wasn't quite what the markets were expecting. Okay. So we've seen mortgage rates push back up. Going into the next couple of months will be critical. We have another jobs report coming up in a couple of weeks, and that's going to be followed up by another consumer price index report.
Okay. And what exactly does get tracked in that consumer price index report? I hear that talked about quite a lot, but what is it really?
lots of things, of course. But I think the Federal Reserve, their focus is more on what they can control, and that's called core inflation.
Okay.
So core inflation strips out food and energy, which they can't control. So if you exclude food and energy, the core is consisting of prices that consumer pay for goods and services. But one of the biggest components of the core inflation is shelter cost, and those have been stubbornly elevated. Shelter costs are mortgage, rents, lodging away from home.
Okay.
And again, that makes up 43% of the number. It's a lagging index, so in real time, there's signs that those pressures are easing, but year over year, they're still elevated.
Okay, so year over year, they're still elevated. So that's a really good indicator then of housing costs, basically, then that CPI.
That's right.
Because such a huge component of it is related to shelter, which is kind of a cool way to refer to it as. So you mentioned, I think, in that CPI, mortgages in there as part of housing costs.
Part of shelter.
Correct. Shelter, right there. Okay. So does it look then that mortgage rates are going to be going down or up again? What is the relation?
Yeah, we think because the shelter costs are a very lagging index, and there are signs that those have been in real time coming down. We are kind of forecasting later this summer that those numbers will look better, which will bring overall inflation down. So, again, the next couple of months, I think, by the time you get into late spring, early summer, I think you're going to start to see some really positive numbers coming out as far as inflation is concerned.
Okay, then. So basically what I've heard is that there's like a correlation with inflation going down, the rates follow it down. So that's one important reason why people kind of follow that CPI. Would you say that's correct? So if that's headed down, then...
That's right. Inflation drives long-term interest rates, so inflation is a very critical thing to keep an eye on if you're in the market for a mortgage.
Okay, then. So you're talking about in the spring time frame, that's kind of the overall sense of people are thinking that the rates will be going down then?
Late spring, I'd probably think more on the lines of summer. I think rates are kind of going to probably stay fairly stable, for the next few months, and then they start to trend down a little bit as we get into the summer.
Okay, then. So what we've seen is since late summer, last fall, starting earlier this year, much higher rates, which has really kind of cooled down in some ways the market. Like I was just out with the buyer this past weekend, and we saw like 16 houses or something like that, and almost every single one of those homes the listing agent was calling me up saying, like, if we go X amount of money, we can have a deal. Can I help you with more information? So they're actually trying harder, which is different from last year, which I mentioned to you before. Agents are working a little harder to get the home sold.
Mm-hmm.
So my buyer was very happy with it, because he was able to
Rightfully
negotiate
so.
something lower.
And rightfully so.
But if rates are dropping potentially later on this year, then that's going to pull more buyers into the market. Really, that's like kind of the practical side effect of this happening. So with more buyers, obviously more competition, and that's going to probably push up home prices again.
Right. So inflation is definitely one thing to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
We've seen, last June rates, or I should say inflation, topped off at 9.1%. We've come down quite a bit, 6.5%. But, the Federal Reserve, their target is 2%. So we still have a long way to go as far as the Fed's concerned. Again, to get down to their target level, which is 2%. And, they're going to be very vigilant in pushing inflation lower, which means, potentially a couple more rate hikes, short-term rate hikes forthcoming, at least, the next two meetings, I would suspect.
Next two meetings of the
Federal Reserve.
The Federal Reserve.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
They meet next month, and then they meet every 6 weeks.
Okay. All right, then. So we'll just have to wait and see how they go with that. Okay, so that's it for now, Rick. Thanks for your time. If you have any questions, comments, put them in the comment section below, and we'll get back to you. Please like this video and share it with your family and friends. Take care. Have a great day.